A big problem, and there's nothing they can do about it. What you are looking at are the NFL teams that have the hardest strength of schedules as this season begins. And the Chicago Bears are at the top, depending on how you look at it, the bottom of that list. The strength of schedule based, of course, off of opponents' winning percentage from last year. Bears have the toughest strength of schedule, which brings us to the game What Say Lou with Louis Riddick. So the Bears have the hardest schedule in the league. There have been a lot of reasons why people have suggested they might digress this year. So my question is, do you think they will go from winning the division to missing the playoffs? What say Lou?
No, I don't think they'll miss the playoffs, Greeny. I do think, obviously, the road, the path to success is going to be harder. It's going to be about the defense. Look, Caleb will do his thing in the second year in Ben Johnson's offense. But defensively, they didn't do anything really to improve the front seven. And this is where they struggled. Pass rush win rate, pressure rate, both near the bottom of the league. Yards per carry, they gave up over 5 yards per carry last year. Defense has to stand up. I think that could be their Achilles heel. Offensively, though, I think they're going to level up. So I think it's going to cancel each other out, but I don't think they're going to win the division.
Greedy, they were plus 22 last year. Typically, that is very hard to repeat.
In turnover ratio.
In turnover margin. That is very hard to sustain. They may be a better team with a worse record.
So that brings us to the division in larger form. Because, Bart, you said something that really perked my ears up as we were talking about the NFC North this morning.
Well, I believe this is the most competitive division in football. And I think the team that's going to really surprise a lot of people is the Minnesota Vikings. I think Kyler Murray, that addition right there. You talk about the Bears going, I've been that team that has won the division before, and then you go from being the hunters to being the hunted. I don't know if the Bears can sustain. You got the most talented, and arguably, I think at the end of this season, I think we may say that Kyler Murray is the most talented quarterback within that division. You pair him with Kevin O'Connell with the weapons that he has, a tight end at T.J. Hawkinson, you have Jefferson, you have Addison, then they go out and get a gritty guy like Jawan Jennings. I think the sky's the limit for Kyler Murray. When you're doing all that, you're going to have little Mandalorian running around here for 25 seconds with guys that's one-on-one down the field.
That's fascinating to me. I haven't had anyone else say that. People have speculated about, maybe he'll play well, maybe he has a resurgence, a rebirth. It's an interesting quarterback room. I haven't heard anyone say they think he's going to be that level of good. Do you?
Yeah, I believe it. Look, I said initially, remember, when they were flirting around with this possibility of signing him, that if they sign him, this isn't a competition. It's over for J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. Not necessarily because, maybe they have thrown in the towel, but I think Kyler Murray's that good. And when Kevin McCarthy comes out, and rather Kevin O'Connell comes out and says, when you watch the tape, his skill set does fit what I do. Some people say, no, it doesn't. He says it does. It's in his best interest to make this work out and make this work out in a big way. I think this could supercharge that offense.
I'm thinking back to the draft of the year before.
Yeah.
And you were saying when they took all the quarterbacks and they wound up with McCarthy.
Yeah.
You were the one telling me whoever winds up in Minnesota is the one winding up in the best place.
Absolutely.
Well, now it's taken 2 years, but now it's Kyler Murray who's wound up in Minnesota.
It sure has. Look, between Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown, we talked about them extensively on this show. I think those two guys are superstars. I think Josh is going to be a head coach here very soon. So I still think it's the best situation for any quarterback to go into, young or old.
Greedy, what's interesting about Kyler Murray, he was a great baseball and football player. For the first time in his career, he felt his athletic mortality. Typically, when someone's that talented, still in the prime of his career, whatever he has, where you get the best of it, to lose point, he's in an ideal situation. And when we're talking about a redemptive story this season, it very likely could be Kyler Murray.
All right, so it's fascinating because you see the Bears
Put the
and the
PlayStation
Packers
up, Greeny. Tell them no PlayStation, no Call of Duty, strictly this.
That's always been the problem. And whether it's been, there's obviously all that talk about the video games and stuff, but the reality is he's had fast starts.
Yeah.
He gets off to very fast starts in seasons, but maybe it's because he wears down his size, whatever the case may be. He doesn't always finish strong. If he does, they could have something special there.
There's no question about that. Look, it's never been about Kyler's athletic ability. It's always been about the football character part of it. Correct. How much is he committed to it? How much is he willing to kind of level up everyone else around him? Up in Minnesota, the expectations are much different than they were in Arizona. Let's just call it the way it is.
Yeah, sure.
They're really expected to challenge to win the North and win the NFC and get to Super Bowls. That's what people expect out of this team because of what Kevin's done. Now, Kyler is right in the spotlight.
Look, we've seen quarterback reclamation stories more improbable than this. I know that's a double negative, but you know what I'm saying. Who saw
Sam
Baker
Darnold
Mayfield
last
coming?
year.
Who saw Sam Darnold coming? Quite a few others. Could Kyler Murray be the next? Let me get to the next What Say Lou. The Kansas City Chiefs play the 5th hardest schedule. So if I were to say they're going to miss the playoffs again, what say Lou?
I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs. I think this team's going to look different, especially in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. This is going to be a run-centric football team now. Eric Bieniemy, remember, he's back. Patrick coming off the ACL. Kenneth Walker, Emmett Johnson, who they drafted out of Nebraska. They've got a two-headed monster now at the running back position. They are going to try and dominate the line of scrimmage, take some pressure off of Patrick, and hope that this defense, with all of the weapons that they have acquired on that side, and yeah, I said defensive weapons, when you think of guys like Mansour Delane and R. Mason Thomas and Peter Woods, those three kids in particular have to show up. Spags has to get the most out of them. I think they'll win differently, but I think they're still going to win. And then when you see them in the back half of the season, that's when they take off.
Well, so Mike T, you were in here about 2 weeks ago, and we were saying, let's see when their division games are. And right off the bat, we find out they play the Broncos week 1. That probably works against the Chiefs. Why?
Because it's going to take Patrick Mahomes some time to be Superman again. Look, when you talk to players over the years, it just takes them time, especially coming off of an ACL injury. It's his left knee, it's his front leg. Now, look, Bo Nix has an injury as well, so they're dealing with some issues on the other side of the ball. But if I'm Kansas City, I want as easy a schedule as I possibly could have for the first 4 to 6 weeks. Lou laid out all the changes they made, but for Patrick Mahomes from the neck up, when you talk to players, they really don't feel like they're back greeny until they've been hit several times and get off the deck.
So that schedule is interesting, and Bart, you opened the show with it this morning.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a division where there's no layups. Now, you talk about, okay, well, we need to support our quarterback with a run game, and we need to support with great defense. What team in that division is more equipped to do that than the Denver Broncos? I understand that Bo Nix is coming off of injury, but so is Patrick Mahomes. And we talk about the front leg. I remember going against Carson Palmer when he hurt his knee. I remember going against Tom Brady to be off his knee. Patrick Mahomes it's going to take a lot of guts for him to put that plant leg there. And as a defense, now we know we have an immobile quarterback. So now we're going to do things like not cover the edges because we know he ain't going to run. He's not going to trust it. How quickly can either one of those quarterbacks in that division trust the injury that they're coming back from? I'm going to blitz right up the middle and land and put bodies at that front knee.
I'm just saying, look, the way in which they attack those now is going to look different. He doesn't have to be Superman anymore. That's why they brought Eric back. But they don't want to attack the same way because they can't attack the same way because it's not getting them the benefits that they want anyway at this point.
But they're not the best team in that division as far as the talent standpoint. We're not even talking about the Chargers, but let's just go back to now Bo Nix having Jalen Waddle. You know, the deficiencies, but they didn't have anybody that can throw the ball down the field. Now they have that. So I don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs are the more talented team within that division. I would say arguably the third.
Look, they've been asking their quarterback to carry them for a long time. Also, by the way, let's address the elephant or at least the silverware in the room. People are probably wondering, why is it that Bart has this large fork? Brandon, can you bring in the old fork? Just as a reference, I had this big fork that we used to use as a prop, and Bart, while I was away, you broke it.
So when people thought that maybe I was put on sabbatical because you were upset about the fork, and I want you to remind everybody out there that Bart Scott is like what do you call it when you have chicken pox?
Contagious?
Not contagious.
Well,
I'm like shingles. You don't see me, but I'm always there, Greeny. So I'm back. So listen, we got. Listen, first of all, Guy Fury, bad job, Guy Fury.
So what you're saying?
I bought this for you, Greeny. I bought it with my own money.